that when you accept something from government, they are taking it from someone else. And more than likely, they will be taking it away from you and your children in the future. Hello, YouTubers. Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, I really wish that I didn't have to do this video. And I don't really. But I have to show you what it is that happens when people ask government for help. You have to understand that government cannot give you something unless it takes it away from someone else. And most of the time, when government gives you something, you will end up paying it back many times over again. Now, before I even start, listen, I have like 3 or 4 videos that I have to edit and put up, okay? I know that I've been covering some articles and news and stuff, but it's because I find this very important for people to know, and those of you that watch it, I hope you're getting something out of them. But I'll put up another video later on tonight that I'm going to work on as soon as this video is published, okay? And it has to do with either a review or a payday prep that I did not too long ago, and both of those are pretty good. They came out pretty good. So, but anyways, I digress. So ladies and gentlemen, like I said, this is not a video where I'm telling anyone I told you so, but I remember this comment like if I read it yesterday. And I don't remember what video it was from. It was probably about 1.5 years or so ago. And it was me talking about how stimulus is going to come back to bite us in the butt. And as you can see here, inflation cost the average U.S. household $250 more a month, study says. But let me go ahead and finish. I remember what the comment said, and I'll paraphrase it, but it was probably very close to this, if not exactly this. And the person that left the comment said something to the aspect of, AP, people need that money. People are struggling and they need that money. And then I remember commenting back on that where I said, well, do you know why it is that people need that money? Do you know why it is that people are in need of this stimulus that the government is pushing out? It is because of the same policies that that same government has been putting out to deal with this health crisis. So the government creates the problem, and then they go ahead and try to fix the problem by creating another problem for you later on down the road. And what is that problem? Inflation, ladies and gentlemen. Here it says that the average household is now spending $250 a month more just to consume the same stuff that they used to consume just 1 year or 2 ago. And that's not all that they're spending. They're spending more than that. It's probably close to $5,000 a year. And I'm also going to show you exactly how much, or about how much, the average family in the U.S. received and how much we are paying back. And I'm also going to show you where most of that stimulus money went. Record inflation is costing the average American household an additional $250 per month on expenses, with millennials, Latinos, and the middle class especially feeling the pinch, according to a new study. Ryan Sweet, a senior economist at Moody's Analytics, studied the average spent by U.S. household during 7% inflation and compared those figures to data from 2018 and 2019, when inflation was around 2% a year. Now, ladies and gentlemen, inflation at any amount is too much. Right? Because inflation here, what inflation means nowadays, all right, I know that they changed the definition of inflation in the major dictionaries, but if you go back to an old dictionary, inflation means the money supply being inflated. The money supply within the economy being inflated, meaning that money is being created out of thin air. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know that there are other inflationary factors that are involved during this health crisis that we're going through, and a lot of them have to do with supply chains, and a lot of them have to do with labor costs and things like that. But all of these problems that we've had with supply chains and labor costs now rising are because of the policies that have been implemented by our lovely government. So don't think for a minute that they're in it for you. I guess this makes me a T word. You know the T word? You know that governments like to say that you're a T word if you don't agree with their narrative. So if it does, it is what it is, okay? He came up with the $250 figure by factoring in different prices for goods and services. A lot of people are hurting because of high inflation. A $250 a month, that is a big burden. And ladies and gentlemen, as I spoke about this on a different video, I remember saying that the uneducated economist was saying, and he made a great point, saying that a lot of the inflation that we're seeing is not because of the inflation of the monetary supply, because the velocity of money is at record lows. And I remember saying that makes a lot of sense, because the velocity of money is at record lows. But once the actual inflation, the printed money, starts to catch up with us and the velocity of money goes up, things are going to be much worse than what they are right now. It continues to say, it really hammers home the point at what is the cost of inflation. And that is what I was gawking about when I was talking about stimulus. When I was talking about the government printing money out of thin air to hand out to people, that the cost in the end was going to be much greater than the benefits that those people that received that stimulus were going to get at the present, back when they received it. And let me go ahead and show you a portion of a different article that I looked at, which goes ahead and breaks down how it is that we're paying extra money. Now, the first article that I read said about $3,000 a year. This one says about $3,500, pretty close. But they say here, at today's 6.8 inflation rate, which we just got our new inflation numbers for January, I believe, and they were 7.2. This translates into a 7.5% tax increase. A $1,500 tax increase for households earning the median family income, with roughly $3,500 lost in purchasing power. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is no win when government just prints out money and hands it out. Money that was not created through labor is bad money. $9,000 altogether. So the average family in the U.S. received roughly $9,000 if they qualified. Right? They received roughly $9,000 in total stimulus over the last 2.5 years, for a total of $875 billion. Now, why does this $875 billion is important? This $875 billion is very important because of what I'm going to show you next. Now, how is that stimulus working out now? That's what I want to ask those families that needed that stimulus in the beginning. How is it working out now? Because now you're going to end up paying roughly $5,000 a year more. And do you think that that's going to go away? It's not going to go away. That $5,000 a year more that we're paying now, that the average family is paying just to live, that is going to continue forever. Forever, or until the system collapses. And inflation is not transitory. Many people think that the word transitory means that we're going to go back to where we were. No, it just means that it's going to level off. So if inflation last month, year over year, was 7.2%, it doesn't mean that when inflation goes back down to 2%, which is not being predicted to go back down to that anytime soon. All right? So get used to paying high inflation. Get used to paying more for everything. Get used for your labor. All right? For your labor to be worth less, because you'll be able to buy less with the same amount of hours that you worked previously. That is what inflation does to you. And let me just show you where it is that all of those trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars went to, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, let me see, $875 billion went to the stimulus. All right? So let's say $1 trillion went to the stimulus. They printed, what, in excess of $14 trillion over the last 2 or 3 years? And this is not party specific. It doesn't matter what party is in the office, ladies and gentlemen. They have no choice but to print. And you have to understand that when they print, the money comes from you. It is your labor that they are taking every time that they print. I just wanted to go ahead and show you a real quick chart of where the money has gone to. Now take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. I brought this all the way back to when all of this shenanigans started with this health crisis. So April 2020. The Dow Jones was at roughly 21,000 points. Now, the Dow Jones is supposed to be about an equivalent of about $50 trillion. So the entire market cap of the Dow Jones is about $50 trillion or so. So if you take from 2020, April of 2020, where the Dow Jones was at 21,000, and you bring it up to today, where it's at about 35,000, that is the equivalent of about $20 trillion, ladies and gentlemen. That is the equivalent of about $20 trillion. But AP, you just said that they only printed about 14 trillion. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, but a lot of people take leverage. Whenever they get stocks, they buy stocks on leverage, which means that they borrow money that doesn't even exist yet, because that money doesn't have to come into existence until after they have to pay the difference if they lose money in the stock market. This is where all of that money went, ladies and gentlemen. Do you feel like the winner now? Do you feel like the winner for getting 8 or 9 grand worth of stimulus, if you even got it, and then having to pay back about $5,000, or not having to pay back, but having to just spend $5,000 a year more forever, from now until you're done paying taxes? This is what that stimulus package cost us. And that $5,000 a year for you and whoever it is that has to pay that, ladies and gentlemen, translates directly into your labor being stolen. Because now you have to earn an additional $5,000 a year just to be able to maintain the same standard of living that you had 3 years ago. Now do you understand how inflation and stimulus is inflation? Stimulus is just the creation of money so that they can hand it out to their buddies. And in this case, their really good buddies are these guys right here. You and I, we're not really their good buddies. We're just the gnats that they have to satisfy with a little bit of sugar water so that we can stay away from them. Right? These are their real buddies right here. That is how it works. I hope you understand now how it is that it is your labor that is being stolen. That when you accept something from government, they are taking it from someone else. And more than likely, they will be taking it away from you and your children in the future. Because you know what our future looks like? $5,000 more a year. Easily. Forever. For as long as we pay taxes, we will be paying this and then some. That's what it does, ladies and gentlemen. That is what the government has done to us. They have stolen the future labor from you, from me, from our children, so that they can enrich themselves and their buddies. And they gave us scraps just to shut us up.